Hi, my name is Sarah Bernard. I got chapter 13, which is leading. So switch to slide 2. What is leadership? Leadership is defined as guiding and influencing others to work willingly toward the leader's objectives. Leaders set term goals, train team members, and perform a variety of other roles. They can have both positive and negative effects in organizations. At its best, leadership can inspire and motivate employees to work hard toward organizational objectives and help the organization succeed. At its worst, leadership can reduce the performance of individual employees as well as the entire organization and even result in unethical behavior and organizational collapse. Slide 3. Management versus leadership. One way to think about whether they are different is to answer the question, are all managers leaders? There are two sides to it. A person who is in an authoritative position who is not a leader, or how about someone who is not in an authoritative position but are a great leader? That means that the answer is that they are different. Management is an important function in every organization. Management exists to establish and implement the procedures, processes, and practices that help the firm function smoothly. Because of their position, managers have the ability to reward and punish. They obtain, coordinate, and distribute the human and material resources the firm needs and ensure that what employees do is consistent with the organization's rules and regulations. On the other hand, leadership is a relationship between the leader and the led. Leadership is the behavioral and interpersonal aspect of what managers do. Leaders may or may not have a formal leadership position. Anyone in a firm can and should engage in leadership behaviors. Leaders often can influence the behaviors of others without the use of reward or punishment. Leaders help devise strategies for the attainment of organizational goals, and they help others understand their role in the implementation of those strategies. Must all leaders be managers? Everyone from the CEO to entry level can and should exhibit leadership regardless of their job duties. Slide 4. Effective leadership. Effective leadership involves influencing others to work toward common objectives, which requires a variety of organizational behavior skills, including communication, motivation, and influence. Effective leadership depends on who the leader is in terms of his or her traits and skills, how the leader behaves, and the appropriateness of the two given the situation the leader is facing. The idea that leadership is a function of the leader, the followers, and the situation is also known as the three contingencies of effective leadership. Sorry about that. Slide 5. Characteristics of leaders. Because people differ in so many ways, it is natural to think that some people have certain characteristics or special gifts that enhance their abilities to lead. Traits are a person's unchanging characteristics that predispose them to act in a certain way, including intelligence, birth order, socioeconomic status, and child-raising practices. Leaders tend to have a higher internal control orientation, emotional maturity, intelligence, self-confidence, determination, integrity, and interpersonal skill. And research has found that traits like individual differences, including creativity, charisma, self-confidence, integrity, and energy, as well as skills including oral and written communication skills, interpersonal skills, and administrative skills, and problem-solving and decision-making skills are consistent predictors of effective leadership, the effects tend to be modest. It is hard to imagine someone without these characteristics being a successful leader. Sorry, a lot of information. Gender. Women make up more than 45% of the workforce, and in 2012, only 18 Fortune 500 companies were reported to be led by women. Excuses that have been offered as to why so few women reach the top in organizations include women not being in managerial positions long enough, lacking managerial experience, being less suited to demanding jobs, and not being sufficiently qualified. Research doesn't support these excuses, but yet women still have trouble moving up in rank. One consistent seems to stem from institutional biases or patterns of preferences inherent in organizations that create barriers. Example, managers often like to hire someone similar to themselves. Because managers are male, they prefer other managers to be male. Whether conscious or unconscious, this type of bias contributes to the glass ceiling effect by restricting women's access to managerial jobs. Rather than changing how women lead, it may be more appropriate to change perceptions about what it means to be an effective leader and what characters and styles are required to become one. Slide 6. What leaders do. Ohio State and University of Michigan Studies Research Center identified 2 dimensions of leadership style: concern for task results and concern for people. Concern for task results emphasizes the achievement of concrete goals, results including planning, organizing, and defining the required tasks. Concern for people emphasizes the social and emotional needs of the individuals. Leaders with a high concern for people generate trust, respect, work satisfaction, and self-esteem by being respectful and friendly. Leaders must take a balanced approach in their concern for task results and concern for employees. There is no one best way to lead. Leadership requires different styles and behaviors in different situations. The leader needs to be multifaceted and emphasize different facets at different times. Those who fail to do that have a limited shelf life. That's Stephen D. Ricker, leadership expert. Traditional leadership is leadership that inspires followers to adopt the values and goals of the leader and put aside their own self-interests for the good of the organization. Transformational leaders are inspirational and communicate a future vision of the organization and can be shared with followers. Visionary explanations help to depict what the employee work group can accomplish. Consider it and treat each employee as an individual rather than simply member of the group. A transformational leader tries to bring out the strengths of each individual employee. Intellectually stimulating and encourage employees to creatively solve problems by approaching old and familiar problems in new ways. Transactional leadership is leadership based on reciprocal exchange of something of value. Transactional leaders rely on a transaction or exchange process in which organizational resources are used to obtain desired employee behaviors. Transformational and transactional leadership complement each other. Charismatic leadership. Charismatic leaders are leaders idolized by followers who develop strong emotional attachments to them. Charismatic leaders are self-confident, dominant, expectations and focus efforts on important objectives. Slide 7. What leaders do. Continue. Level 5 leadership is a combination of transactional and transformational leadership styles focused on long-term company performance. Requires a combination of personal humility and strong professional determination. Level 5 leaders are humble and willing to take the blame for failure while simultaneously setting high standards and demonstrating an unwavering resolve to do whatever it takes to produce the best long-term results. This type of leadership has gained popularity among executives, and some consider it to be the ultimate leadership style. Ethical leadership. The demonstration of normatively appropriate conduct through personal actions and interpersonal relationships, and the promotion of such conduct to followers through two-way communication. Reinforcement and decision-making leaders set an example for others, whether they intend to or not. Employees pay attention to company leaders and the ethical standards they set or fail to set, in part because leaders are prominent authority figures able to gain employees' attention and hold them accountable to ethical standards. An ethical leader's followers want to reciprocate the leader's supportive treatment with their own ethical behavior. Research has found that employees' perceptions of their supervisor's ethical leadership and positively related to the willingness to report problems to management, job commitment, and satisfaction with their supervisor. Slide 8. What influences a leader's effectiveness? An effective leader does not rely on a single preferred style. Good leaders adapt to the situation, take into account the motivation and capability of followers, evaluate the challenges of the task, and consider the organizational environment. Contingency theories of leadership are leadership theories that acknowledge that the appropriateness of a leader's style depends on the nature of the followers and the situation. Fiedler argued that leader effectiveness depends on two interacting factors: leadership style and the degree to which the situation gives the leader control and influence. Fiedler's leader match model proposes that a person's leadership style is part of who that person is and cannot be changed. 3 parts of the model: leader-follower relations. A leader who is liked, accepted, and trusted by his members will find it easy to make his or her influence felt. Task structure: if the goal, methods, and performance standards of a task are clear, then it is more likely that the leaders will be able to exert influence. Position power: if an organization or group confers powers on the leader to get the job done, then his may well increase the influence of the leader. Fiedler once said, "If you learn to avoid situations in which you are likely to fail, you're bound to be a success." Slide 9. What influences a leader's effectiveness? Continued. Hershey's situational leadership model was created in 1980 as the follower moves from low to moderate and high performance readiness. The best leader influence behaviors move from telling to participating and ultimately to delegating. Path goal theory emphasizes that the leader's job is to help followers attain their goals and to provide appropriate direction and support to ensure that followers' goals are consistent with those of the group and organization. Based on expectancy theory of motivation, which proposes that motivation to exert effort is based on a person's belief that he or she has the ability to accomplishment, which will lead to rewards, and these rewards are attractive or valued. Path goal theory focuses on 4 leadership styles: directive leadership, supportive leadership, participative leadership, and achievement-oriented leadership. Leader-member exchange theory, LMX for short, describes how leaders develop different relationships with different subordinates over time. Proposes that leaders usually develop a special relationship with a subset subordinate. In-group members serve as trusted advisors and assistants, and out-group members have less or no input. All organizations have in and out groups, and it is not necessary for leaders to treat all subordinates the same. Effective leaders relate differently to various people and give them different amounts of influence. Substitutes for leadership theory. Leadership substitutes and leadership neutralizers. Leadership substitutes factors that make leadership unnecessary, and then leadership neutralizers are factors that make leadership impossible. Followership. Leaders cannot lead if followers refuse to follow. Leaders must first build a support base by winning followers' respect, by accumulating idiosyncrasy credits, brownie points. Effective followers are important to effective leadership because leaders depend on their followers for good information. One of the most important follower characteristics is a willingness to tell the truth. Leadership effectiveness is in different cultures. Cultural factors influence the effectiveness of different leadership styles. Example, group harmony is focused on in Indonesia. An American oil rig supervisor in Indonesia shouted at an employee to take a boat to shore, so a mob of outraged workers chased the supervisor around with an axe. Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. It is important to understand that the impact of culture on leadership effectiveness because of increasing diversity in the workplace, as well as having multiple countries involved in companies. Slide 10, we're almost done. Influences of technology on leadership. Technology is rapidly altering how leaders must engage followers. Using telecommuting, email, and web-based portals and support virtual teams, they communicate with people all around the world. E-leadership addresses the human interactions that now occur through information technology. E-leaders must use more participative styles for global and local situational demands on decision making. E-leaders must become more comfortable with developing, managing, and maintaining relationships without having direct personal contact and oversight. E-leaders must be able to build relationships and trust with and among team members. E-leaders must become increasingly comfortable with using technology to communicate, influence, motivate, and inspire others. Using technology such as instant messaging, chat rooms, blogs, and wikis, and sometimes web logs and online diaries. Technology gives managers the opportunity to communicate with employees in a variety of ways. Sometimes technology can enhance the leader's effectiveness, and sometimes it can get in the way. CD-ROMs, PDAs, web-based toolkits, communities of practice, online leadership development, mixed modes of training and development, using the internet to build culture. These are all different forms of technology that have been used through time to help leaders lead and continue to lead. So slide 11, finally, my question for you: when was the time you had to be a leader or a follower, and how did you come to the determination to lead or follow? This can be at work, school, or in your personal life. Thanks so much for watching.